1986 was a crazy time. At this point, David Bowie and Michael Jackson were dominating the music industry. Chicago Bears won their first and only Super Bowl. And the biggest thing for this time? The release of Dragon Ball. I'm sure anybody watching this has seen or heard of Dragon Ball. If you go up to a homeless person on the streets, there's a 90% chance they've at least seen an episode. I'm going on a journey for the next several months of my life to say for certain. Does classic Dragon Ball hold up today? Is it worth starting in 2024 as a novice? My goal is to tell you exactly how well every saga and movie holds up today. This story starts with the Emperor Pilaf saga. Here we are introduced to the heroes of the story, Goku and Bulma, the main focus for most of the series. We learn the story of Son Goku, the 14-year-old boy with a monkey tail who lived in the woods with his grandfather. One day his grandfather was mysteriously crushed by a giant monster. The only thing Goku's grandfather left for him was a mysterious ball with 4 stars. We later learn that if you collect 7 of these Dragon Balls, you can summon a giant dragon to make a wish. Bulma comes into these woods looking for the Dragon Balls when she meets Goku. Bulma wants to use the Dragon Balls to make a wish for a handsome boyfriend. There's a lot of humor in this old series that doesn't really hold up very well. A lot of the time they are very overly sexual to Bulma, considering she was a 16-year-old at the time. So I'm kind of going to skip over a lot of this stuff because it's kind of weird today. Bulma shows Goku that she's been carrying 2 of the Dragon Balls. After this, we are introduced to Emperor Pilaf and his minions. The dog guy I can't remember the name of, and Mai, the antagonists of this saga. Pilaf is really pretty lame, and honestly probably the worst part of this saga. Pilaf plans to use the Dragon Ball so he can take over the world. A motive I'm sure I will repeat 100 more times during this series. Bulma asks Goku to help her search for the rest of the Dragon Balls. We learn about Bulma's family's company. She can basically hold vehicles or buildings or really anything she wants inside of a capsule. At this point, our journey has begun, and unbeknownst to Goku and Bulma, this journey will last for the next several decades of their lives. At this point, Goku runs into Mai and the dog while they're hunting for Dragon Balls. They briefly interact before Goku just leaves. Goku and Bulma are back at the capsule house when they run into Kame, a sea turtle who's looking for some salt water. Goku agrees to take Kame to a nearby ocean. Once they arrive, it cuts to the goons telling Pilaf about their meeting with Goku. Here we find out that a nearby turtle hermit has one of the Dragon Balls. Pilaf and his friends go on a journey to hunt down the turtle hermit. At this point, Kame leaves and returns with the same turtle hermit riding on his back. We learn that this hermit is Master Roshi, the 300-year-old martial artist living alone in the Kame house on an island. He grants Goku a Nimbus cloud as a gift for helping Kame, a cloud that can only be rode by somebody with a pure heart. Shortly after this, Pilaf arrives at the Kame house, but nobody's home. Roshi agrees that he will give Goku and Bulma the Dragon Ball, but only if Bulma flashes him. That's one of the jokes that I was talking about that didn't age very well. Kame Island, more like Epstein Island. So now not only does he have to worry about Pilaf showing up unannounced, he also has to worry about feds doing a sweep. Roshi gets back to the Kame house and Pilaf is asking him about the Dragon Balls. This is where he reveals that he gave it to Bulma and Goku. We cut back to Goku, and this is where Oolong is introduced. Oolong is a monster with the power to shapeshift. He's been terrorizing a village for weeks. Bulma and Goku find out that one of these villagers have a Dragon Ball and agree to take down Oolong for the price of the Dragon Ball. At this point, Goku gets in a fight with Oolong, and we find out that he's actually a pig who can only transform for 5 minutes at a time. Goku pretty easily defeats Oolong, and now he is rewarded with the 5th Dragon Ball. They take Oolong with them on their journey for the final 2 Dragon Balls after seeing how useful his transformations could be. On their journey to Mount Frying Pan, they arrive in a desert. Here we meet Yamcha, the desert bandit. Yamcha also has a friend who has the ability to transform. His name is Puar. Puar notices Goku and alerts Yamcha, and Yamcha decides that he's going to rob him. At this point, this is kind of where you start to notice one of the themes in Dragon Ball. It's that almost no matter how evil somebody could seem or what they do to you, you could still end up being friends. They're never past being redeemed 90% of the time. You'll notice a lot of the time, almost everybody Goku hangs around with was evil or tried to kill him at some point for whatever reason. There's very few characters that haven't. They get into a fight for a few minutes, and it seems like Yamcha's winning until he notices Bulma was there lying down, and he runs away. At this point in the show, Yamcha is actually extremely obsessed with women, and he's terrified of them. He just can't interact with any women. He can't touch a woman. The only reason he wants the Dragon Balls in the first place at this point is because he wants to wish so that way he won't be scared of women anymore. Yamcha follows Goku and Bulma around on their adventures for quite a while. He doesn't really do anything, he's just waiting for them to get the Dragon Balls. So at this point he's planning to wait until they have all 7 of them, and then he's just going to steal it and make the wish before they can do anything. So that's another kind of one of the dynamics right now. Yamcha is interested in Bulma. He talks about her a lot. He thinks that she's really hot, and Bulma is also talking about him a lot. Thinks that he's really hot, and she's telling Goku and Oolong that basically she wants to be with him. But they're like, "Are you crazy? He just tried to kill us." I don't know. It's kind of Bulma's big thing throughout the series. She's just really obsessed with dudes. So at this point, Goku and friends arrive at the mountain, and it's covered in fire, and just absolutely everywhere. The entire mountain's on fire. This is where we learn that in the castle on top of the mountain, the Ox King lives there, and he'll kill anybody to protect his treasure. That's kind of all he cares about, is his treasure. They run into the Ox King trying to figure out how to get on into the castle, trying to get past the fire. They run into the Ox King, and Goku tries to fight him, but Ox King's too strong for Goku. Goku can't hurt him at this point, so he hops on the Nimbus and rides around in circles around him to make him dizzy. So Ox King recognizes both the Nimbus Cloud as being something that Master Roshi would have had, and he recognizes his staff as being something that his grandfather Gohan would have had. So this is where we learn that Goku's grandfather Gohan was actually Master Roshi's best pupil. And the Ox King says that Master Roshi has a fan big enough to put out the fire, and he asks Goku to retrieve it for him. He also reveals that he already sent out his daughter Chi-Chi to retrieve it, and he asks Goku to take her with him. So Goku finds Chi-Chi and takes her on the Nimbus Cloud with him, and almost instantly it's something that Goku just does in the series all the time, but he pats her crotch trying to see if she's a boy. Chi-Chi actually apparently loved this, because immediately after she said that she just knew she had to marry him now. So, good for him, I guess. But when she's getting on the Nimbus, she grabs Goku's tail to pull herself up, and it completely paralyzes him. It takes away all of his power. So this is where we find out Goku's biggest weakness. If you grab his tail or pull on it, then he just can't do anything. So they ride together to Roshi's place, and they ask him about the fan, but he can't find the fan. He's lost it. So he decides that he'll ride over to the mountain with them and just put out the fire himself. So at this point, this is actually technically one of the most important moments in the series, one of the most vital moments, because this is where we learn about the Kamehameha Blast. So Master Roshi decides that he's going to use his secret technique, or his special technique, the Kamehameha Blast. So he uses his Kamehameha on the mountain, and it just not only put out the fire, but it completely destroyed the entire mountain. I mean, it was just in shambles immediately. Goku was so impressed that he asked him if he could teach him the Kamehameha Blast, but unfortunately Roshi said that it would take 50 years to master the blast. So in the very next scene, Goku goes off on his own, and he just learns the blast himself in seconds. It took him like 3 seconds. He just copied the movements, and he did it immediately. So as a viewer, this is kind of where you see, like, okay, Goku definitely is special. He's got something going on. He learned a technique that takes 50 years to master. He learned it in seconds. So after seeing this, Roshi's obviously super impressed, and he offers Goku some training. He says that one day you could even be stronger than me. So then they go digging around the palace that they just destroyed, and that's when they find the 6th Dragon Ball. So at this point they only need one more, and we know that Pilaf has it. So I won't talk about the Pilaf fight a whole lot, because in my opinion Pilaf is probably the least interesting villain in all of Dragon Ball, in my opinion. But he sends his minions to go and rob Goku, and they steal the Dragon Ball successfully. So Goku and Bulma, with the help of Yamcha, actually go and chase down Pilaf's minions to his castle. So at this point, Yamcha's acting friendly, but he does still plan to steal the Dragon Ball so he can make his wish. So at this point, the crew is Goku, Bulma, Oolong, Yamcha, and Puar, and they all arrive at Pilaf's castle together. So they navigate through the booby-trapped castle until eventually they get stuck in a room after Pilaf drops the wall down behind them. And I think I forgot to mention it earlier, but Goku still has the last Dragon Ball in his body. Pilaf fills the room with sleeping gas and steals the last Dragon Ball from Goku, so at this point Pilaf has all of the Dragon Balls. Goku and friends wake up, and they chase Pilaf around for a little bit until they get stuck in another trap room. That's kinda a big deal in this fight. They're gonna get stuck in a trap room again. With his enemy stuck in a trap room, Pilaf decides that it's time to summon Shenron, the giant dragon, and make his wish. Goku uses Kamehameha to blast a hole in the wall, and the hole was just big enough for Oolong to fly through it in a bat form. So at this point, Shenron's been summoned, and Pilaf is just about to make his wish. He says, I wish for world, and then right at that moment, he's interrupted by Oolong when he says, "Give me a pair of Bulma's panties." So at this point, Goku's built up enough strength so that way he can use another Kamehameha blast, and he blasts his way out of the room. So they try to use this opportunity to run away, but eventually they get backed into, believe it or not, another trap room. This time, it's surrounded by metal walls and a tempered glass ceiling. So at this point, they talk about going back to get the Dragon Balls again, because once the Dragon Balls are used and the wish is made, they all scatter. But this is when we find out that once they scatter, they actually turn into stone for a full year before they turn back into Dragon Balls. But at this point, all hope seems to be lost. There's no way out of this room until we realize that it's a full moon out. So this is where we as a viewer and all of Goku's friends realize what actually happened to Grandpa Gohan that day. So Goku has this form whenever there's a full moon if he looks at the moon, where he turns into a giant great ape. Now whenever Goku uses this form, he actually has no control over it at all. He completely loses his memory. He doesn't know anything about it. He has no idea that he turns into this. So this form will actually end up being pretty problematic at some points, but as of right now, it's super convenient. So just as they're talking about it, the moonlight shines through, Goku looks at the moon, and he transforms. So now that Great Ape Goku is out, he's destroying Pilaf's entire castle. He's just absolutely annihilating it. Pilaf and his friends try to get away in a plane, but Goku just grabs one of the castle towers and throws it at him and destroys the entire plane. Goku keeps going on a rampage until he grabs Bulma and almost eats her, but Puar actually turns into scissors and cuts off his tail, and this stuns him enough to subdue him until he turns back into a human. So at the end of this arc, Bulma and Yamcha actually decide that they're going to start dating, and they decide that they're going into the city. Oolong decides to tag along with them, and Goku actually says that he's going to go and train with Master Roshi. So when I pick up next week, that's where we're going to be. It's just going to be Goku little training arc with Roshi, and he's going to meet Krillin. So yeah, I would definitely say it's still worth watching the show today. There's a lot of humor that doesn't age very well, but it's more about the fun adventure. It's a very solid introduction to these characters. I'd give the Pilaf Saga a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 personally. Let me know what you guys think about this story. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. That's all for today.